For what purpose does Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm speaking to the substitute.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rehab and Social Services did hear this bill in committee, and I just want to point out a few things. I have the greatest respect for my colleague, Senator Marsden, but I have to say, listening to his presentation, it seems to be a lot of concern about something that is really not likely to happen. The bill merely allows the state to go in and monitor this Farmville facility as though we were monitoring regional or other local facilities. And I think you might ask why. Why are we even bothering? Well, I will tell you, on the ICE website itself and on documents that ICE has published, there hasn't been a federal inspection of Farmville since February 28, 2019. Well, as you know, the governor implemented an executive order in March 12th. So for this whole time, we haven't, according to ICE, its own report, they haven't gone in to monitor. I would submit, and I believe members of the committee would submit, that we do in fact have a vested public interest in understanding what kind of health conditions are really going on in Farmville. We have Virginians who are working at the Farmville Center. We have suppliers who are going in and out, providing catering services or housekeeping services or whatever. All of those folks are in our communities. All of those folks could be conduits for spreading COVID-19. Federal government's under no obligation to pay for the health capacity the state would have to create if, in fact, we allowed extensive or egregious health situations to take place. And I do want to say that we, the state, the Department of Health has gone in with the Department of Corrections and monitored other facilities. But you should know that the whole intent is to be collaborative. The state has never taken, according to the Department of Health, we have never taken a regional or local facility to court. Now, some might say we're not aggressive enough in applying standards, but I want to remind you, when the state goes in, we are monitoring against CDC health regulations. That's a federal body. That's the body that does infectious diseases and control. That's the federal body that provides the interpretation of research into practice when it comes to good public health. We've never taken a facility to court. We want to work with our facilities. We want them to get the best outcomes possible. And that's all this bill is intended to do. It's all. We just want an opportunity to go in and work with the facility. And we believe that, in fact, there's enough of a public interest that you would want us to go in and work with the facility. Lastly, ICE expects their federal detention facilities and the managers of their federal detention facilities to publish plans on how to address public health outbreaks and, quote, these standards or these plans must include collaboration with local health departments. So it is the expectation of ICE that the contractors they're hiring to run these centers will in fact work with the states that they're located in. I don't see the boogeyman in this bill. I really do not. But I'm interested in hearing more from my colleagues, and I hope we can look at this with an open mind. And I do thank my senator, my colleague, for bringing this bill forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
And Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Would the gentlelady yield for a question?
Will Senator yield?
Yes, I will yield.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask the gentlelady, my understanding, and maybe I need to phrase this a different way, my understanding, having heard this on the floor because I'm not in the committee, is that under the gentlelady from, gosh, where's Senator Boyce go from?
Loudon.
her bill, it's a mandate that the state go in and monitor a federal facility. And the gentleman from Fairfax is proposing a bill where it would be a collaborative effort with the federal government seeking to come in and monitor it on the federal standards. Is that correct?
Senator has the floor.
I would respond by saying I believe the bill that the senator from Loudoun introduced, the senior senator from Loudoun, accomplishes the same thing. I guess I'm having trouble understanding why we would need the substitute. I don't interpret the bill before us, not the underlying bill. I don't interpret that to create the lawsuits or mandates that I guess the other senators might seem to think would exist.
Further question?
Yes, would the gentlelady yield for another
Senator
question?
Yield.
Yes, I yield.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
I would ask the gentlelady, Mr. President, would not, if I read this bill correctly, the senator from Loudoun is proposing a mandate that we monitor a federal facility, and would not the doctrine of federal preemption preclude that from happening? As I understand the law, state can't mandate anything to the federal government because of the doctrine of federal preemption. And so is not that exactly what the senator from Fairfax is talking about, where this whole thing's going to end up in federal litigation?
Senator has the
Isn't that
floor.
so?
Thank you. Again, my response is I believe that the interpretation from the Senator Stewart is that this is going to be a hard and fast, aggressive monitoring with a penalty, and the state has never applied a penalty. The state has never taken a facility to court. So I don't see why this bill doesn't bring us down the collaborative path just by the way the state has always interpreted or exercised its monitoring ability. That's my response. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator.